everybody? Welcome to Capital Combat. Name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today I'm going to recap last night's UFC 249, which was the first pay-per-view that we had in a while because of this coronavirus pandemic. Now, I don't know about you all, but I was very excited to finally see some combat sports action on TV after over a month and a half of absolutely nothing. So, what we had last night, and based on what I broke down actually, I talked about the two main event title fights, and I did a brief mention of the headlining heavyweight fight. So I'll talk about those three fights, which was Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz, and Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. Starting off with the heavyweight fight, because that, on the card. Anyway, this one lived up to everything that we all predicted it would be. In the preview video, I talked about how the fight between Ngannou and Derek Lewis was one of those fights that we all figured would not see the final bell, and not only did it see the final bell, it turned out to be a train wreck. This one was the train wreck of a different kind, because both Rozenstruik and Ngannou went out there with intentions to end this fight within the first minute. Both guys said, screw seeing the final bell, we don't want to see the first minute of round one. And it was bombs away from the beginning. And technique be damned, because not any scene. It was just two big ass dudes throwing hands. And all Francis Ngannou needed was that one punch, and Rozenstruik was asleep. It was a devastating punch, and he's like the real live version of the One Punch Man. I don't know if y'all seen that cartoon, the anime One Punch Man. There's this bald-headed guy that doesn't have the greatest personality, but when the bad guys come around, he finishes them in one punch. It's a hilarious anime. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But Francis Ngannou is looking like that right now. Like, he's going out there and he's touching guys on the chin, and they out. So, with the heavyweight division up in the air, we don't know what's going to happen with that. So, we're going to look forward to seeing him fight either one of the top guys, either Cormier rematch with Stipe. Who knows? But let's move on to that first title fight, which is the men's bantamweight title fight between Henry Triple C Cejudo, the first Olympic gold medalist, UFC titleist, and now two division titleist, against Dominic Cruz, the first bantamweight champion, probably the longest reigning as well, but been out of the octagon for 2.5 years before this fight. So in the preview video, I picked Cejudo to win, but by decision. I thought that he would be able to use his superior wrestling and improve striking to take Cruz on points because of him not being in the octagon for so long. I thought that, he'd start off pretty fast, and by the end of it, Cruz would start to, come on, because he's starting to get that range, he's starting to get that timing and things like that. But he never got a chance to. Cejudo was on him from the bell, chopping away at those legs. And anyone who is a fan of Cruz or just MMA in general knows that he has had a myriad of leg problems over the last decade. So Cejudo goes right out there and immediately starts chopping those legs down. And we know that the entire structure of Cruz's offense and defense is based off of that movement. He creates lots of angles, similar to Tony Ferguson. They're bouncing in and out, changing stances, changing the look, changing the angle at all times. And they're throwing punches when you don't expect them to be throwing punches, and it throws you off. And he was trying that, and he got in maybe a few punches, but nothing big. Cejudo was able to keep Cruz on the defensive. Vicious leg kicks he was landing that were visibly hurting him. He got a big takedown in the first round as well, catching one of Cruz's kicks. And to Cruz's credit, he was able to get right back up. But he went right back to getting his legs chopped up. So we get into the second round, more of the same. Both guys doing really good keeping this fight standing up, because each time somebody even thought about going for a takedown, like the scramble, sprawl reflex on both of these guys should be commended, because I mean their reactions were immaculate. The way that they just, as soon as one of them changed levels, they were like, nope, that's not happening. So the fight's about to, the second round's about to end. Cruz does an ill-timed level change. Cejudo sees it, drives a knee right into his face. Cruz goes down. Lots of unanswered shots later, referee steps in. Cruz, of course, is upset because the referee goes to stop the fight, and Cruz starts to get up. It was already too late. The ref was already on his way to stop the fight when Cruz started getting up. And so, you know, that it is what it is. I thought that the ref was going to be stepping in pretty soon. I was like, ref, what are you gonna do, ref? And then he finally stopped, and I was like, oh, he wasn't as hurt as we thought he was. That's the fight game, y'all. You gotta make, everything's happening in the moment. And Dominick Cruz fell victim to the first stoppage TKO victory of his career. Henry Cejudo afterwards promptly retires, which was a little surprising, but that leaves the bantamweight and the flyweight divisions wide open. So there's no belt holder in either one. They tried to do the interim fight with Benavidez, and I can't remember the other guy he fought, but he missed weight, couldn't win the title. Now the bantamweight title, I got the wrong combat sport. I was about to say lightweight for boxing, but the bantamweight title is now vacant, and you got a lot of killers out there waiting to get their hands on that belt. And then we're almost closing in on the end of TJ Dillashaw's suspension, so he's going to be back soon too. A lot of excitement in that division, so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen going forward in that 135-pound and the 125, because I used to really love the fights in there. I used to love seeing Mighty Mouse fight. I used to love seeing those guys compete and step their game up in order to compete with him. So it made him being so good, made everyone else step up their game to become good as well. So I really like that. And now it's wide open for anyone to take over and say, I'm the man now. Let's find out who that is. All right, so let's talk about the main event. Because, man, what a fight that was. Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, both guys we know come to fight. Tony Ferguson comes with the volume, the awkward style, all the angles, the moves that normally you don't see fighters make. And he pulls it off well. A lot of the moves you see, you would never teach a fighter to do. You'd be like, hey, no, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Tony Ferguson not only does those things, he does them with success. And Gaethje is a guy who, up until last night, was one of those guys who you were like, all right, throw technical skill out the window. He go hit you, and he go hit you hard, and you going to sleep. That was his thing. That was not the Justin Gaethje we saw last night. The Justin Gaethje we saw last night looked like a guy who was one of the top MMA fighters in the entire sport. This man's transformation from his previous fights to now was incredible. his punches were the tightest I've ever seen. That left hook was vicious. That pull counter right that he kept doing, vicious. Leg kicks, we already knew he had vicious leg kicks, but he stayed on them bad boys, and he made Tony Ferguson pay for all of that movement with those vicious leg kicks. He stayed tight, he stayed fundamental, and he made me eat my words, because I thought that he would be ahead and land those vicious shots, but I thought he'd tire out, and he never did. Every time I thought he was going to tire out, I was like, okay, he's starting to fade now. Tony's coming on. Pop, pop. He just started hitting him with some howitzers. I mean, he was nailing Ferguson with everything. And to Tony Ferguson's credit, what a chin this guy has. I mean, he ate some bombs and never stopped coming. Even when he got hurt, you could see he was visibly hurt by a punch. He, take a quick step back, and then he'd be right back in it. So Gaethje never really had that time to really jump on him and try to go for the finish. It was genius on Ferguson's part, and also the recuperative powers that we talked about in the preview video, where I said that he can get hurt. He's been tagged, but he recovers very swiftly, and that was evident last night as well. However, the tight, clean punching of Gaethje was just too much. And I don't know what was going on with him blowing his nose, Tony Ferguson. I remember my team had a fight several years ago when I was an amateur fighter. And one of my guys, had gotten his nose busted pretty well. Went to blow his nose like 10 minutes later. All that had swollen up. And the same thing started happening to Tony Ferguson last night. That's a no-no. That's just a no-no. You can't blow your nose. Like, it just, I don't know what it is and why it happens, because I'm not a scientist, but you get that damage up here and you blow your nose, it makes it 30 times worse. So his eyes swelling up probably didn't help the matters. But man, we got to give Justin Gaethje his props. I mean, that was a polished, meticulous, calculated exercise in precision that, whoo boy, I don't know what's going to happen when him and Khabib step in that octagon. Because I was talking to Rob and he was like, Khabib ain't going to have all that. Khabib going for the takedown. Which is true. But Gaethje has that D1 pedigree to where people aren't taking him down. So can Khabib do it? That remains to be seen. And then we've seen Khabib hurt by people with punches. But he's never been hit the way Justin Gaethje's going to hit him. So man, this fight just became so much more exciting. It's so much more intriguing that I can't wait for those two to get in the octagon. Had you asked me this question 2-3 months ago, I'd be like, are you crazy? This is not even a remote conversation. But now, ooh. What do you guys think? Let me know what you thought about the fights. Hit us up in the comments section below. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Capital Combat. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can see all of our updates from either myself or Rob. And hopefully this pandemic ends pretty soon and the two of us move a little bit closer so we can do some more videos together. We had gotten our schedules aligned to the point where we had started doing more videos together, if y'all saw. But then all this happened and it's back to us doing this. We're looking into doing Zoom and all that stuff. So hopefully we'll have some videos with y'all, with the two of us, like the old days, pretty soon. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Till then, fight on.
This round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane. I told them I don't play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.